When they come in on a morning like this, it's cold and still dark outside. This is where they find light, warmth and work, their work. They make heating elements for electrical household appliances, as well as modern heating elements for industrial plants. The production lines are running and the first orders are arriving in the office. Orders from all over the world, from customers looking for solutions for their specific heating requirements. The manager enters. Good mornings and a brief conversation at the assembly line. Then he goes over to the plant manager.
Der Winter ja nochmal zurückgekehrt, ne? Ja, Winter kalt draußen.
The same routine every morning. (8:30 a.m.) Production meeting. Every Monday the same. Production development, production planning, quality management and the managing directors are all present at the table. Production lines are working to capacity on customers' orders. Now they need to know, are all the parts finished? Will we be able to fulfill our delivery promise? What has priority? They leave the meeting convinced that this week everything will go according to plan. The hot microcoals production is in full swing. In the 1990s, Freek built up a completely new business segment with these high-tech industrial heating elements. At the time, he was one of the pioneers. That was 17 years ago. When I joined the company, it only made heating batteries for tumbler dryers and other open coil elements, and there was a small division for panel heaters. Now, I guess about 30 employees have found work in the hot microcoals production. Hot microcoils production accounts for about 50% of the overall turnover. These nozzle heaters ensure precise heating in plastic injection molding, and manufacturers of plastic injection molding machines have their own specific requirements. They come to us and tell us their specific requirements when we are at the actual development stage of a customized product. We then build either a small series or just one single individual sample of the product. Then the customer runs trials, gets back to us to let us know that it was too cold down here or too warm here. And because we control all the influencing factors ourselves, we are able to make the necessary adjustments according to the customer's specifications or wishes or results of the trial. Then we build it again. We make another small series, and if the customer likes it, we then make the required amount. Shortly before 10 a.m., the marketing department has received an inquiry from a foreign customer. The customer makes wind power stations and requires process heat for the rotor blade production. The order lands on his desk, as do all special customer orders in his area of responsibility. If an application is very specific, or if the application has to be newly developed, the order is given to me. I can then provide the user with the best possible solution to the problem. This is the essence of my work. And what I offer a customer should be something that is not just available anywhere.
Und das, was ich ihm anbiete, das soll vielleicht auch gar nicht überall bekommen können.
In production, they have to make what marketing has promised. That's why, when he takes the new order to the head of production, as often as not, this is what he will hear.
Was bringst du denn da schon wieder?
So what have you got this time? I've heard this so many times that I don't really hear it anymore. It's simply part of the greeting. They know that I believe product individualization is our best chance of survival on the German market. We have to be able to provide something that the competitor in Italy or India simply can't build as quickly as we can.
Der Wettbewerber aus Italien oder der Wettbewerber aus Indien nicht sofort bauen kann.
The plant manager's door is always open. This is referred to as the short route at Freek. The new order is coordinated and can go into production at short notice. Employees are not always happy about the scheduled daily production program being cancelled, but they also know that the customer is the boss. If we want orders, we have to remain flexible. The production managers are responsible for ordering any special parts that are needed immediately, as well as for dealing with the suppliers directly. Other parts are acquired through the purchasing department. I need suppliers that are able to respond to our needs. I must be able to fulfill special requirements. If we need a special kind of pipe or a special material, I have to be able to rely on my suppliers to send a length of piping so I can look at it and decide whether or not we can use it. That is what we mean by cutting through red tape, and it is often the deciding factor for how soon we can deliver. A lot of our parts come from highly specialized local suppliers. A lot of these are not only suppliers, but also our partners when something new is to be developed. This network enables Freek to respond quickly and flexibly even to the most unusual customer requests. When a new vendor part arrives, quality management prepares a test protocol. Documentation is standard quality management procedure. But that alone does not guarantee the quality required by today's customers. I cannot provide the required level of quality on my own. Quality is a result of the work process. Each individual employee is responsible for the quality at his or her workplace. Quality control is at the end of production. No faulty or defective parts are passed on to customers. Freek introduced quality management 13 years ago. You can't force people to carry out proper quality management. It is a process that has to be introduced gradually, because you're dealing with people. Shortly after 10, a call comes into the marketing department. Goods have arrived. The customer ordered these heating elements 2 days ago. The order was passed on to our partner in Italy. Freek doesn't fulfill all customer wishes from its own production lines. The goods are handed over, the delivery note checked and the heating elements unpacked. The quality of all products is carefully checked and recorded. Everything is okay. Some of the heating elements still have to be adapted to the customer's specifications. Everything is packed up. Three-quarters of an hour later and the heating elements are ready for transport. In the beginning, Freek just made heating elements. Then, in the 1990s, the company began actually buying and selling heating elements. By cooperating with other European manufacturers of heating elements, we are able to supply the complete range of products. This allows us to focus on what we can do best. Extend the range of products and focus on what they do best. Seize upon the customer's requirements and ideas and develop them to new innovations in heating elements. 11 a.m. Technology meeting. The meeting is attended by development, production, marketing and the managing directors. Product development is teamwork. Today's discussion is about brass heaters for the plastics industry. Freek always takes note of customers' current needs, implementing them in improvements to the system heating elements. The aim is to improve heat distribution along the nozzle and make it easier to assemble and take apart. The discussion then turns to heating elements for household appliances and the development of a customized solution. It was with heating elements for household appliances that Freek started doing business 60 years ago.
Zu dem Zeitpunkt
Up until 1994, simple heating elements for household appliances still made up 100% of our sales, and most of these were for one single appliance, heater batteries for tumble dryers, driven by my father's pioneering spirit, upheld by motivated employees. When Wilhelm Kaiser began as manager 40 years ago, Freek was a typical subcontracting company specializing in a few simple standardized heating elements. The senior boss still has an office here, but he has now passed the baton on to his sons. I believe that as requirements change, you just have to adapt and go with the time. And Freek has adapted to change, reacted to changed market conditions for heating elements in household appliances, expanded the product range and provided customized solutions, shortened delivery times and maintained competitive prices. At the same time, Freek is also entering the market for high-tech heating elements, responding to customers' requirements. The plastics industry is calling for micro-nozzle elements for plastic injection molding machines. And in order to supply customers with numerous products from a single source, Freek is now also expanding into the commodities sector. Not only is Freek selling the new wide range of heating elements to German customers, but also increasingly to foreign customers. The small company is benefiting from globalization, but this also involves a number of new risks. Lunch break, and the employees are going to a meeting in the production hall, as so often in the last weeks and months. Yesterday evening, the media reported a new crisis, the upward revaluation of the euro. The managing director explains to employees how this will affect Freek. They have understood the situation and go to lunch reassured. The world financial crisis affects all of today's global players. But how can it be dealt with? I actually find that it has brought people closer together, that everyone has tried to participate and make the most of a project. Everyone is thinking along the lines of, what can we do to keep our customers happy and make sure they don't go elsewhere? We always believed that things wouldn't be too bad, and we have been proved right. For the first 3 months we were really scared, but then the orders started coming in. But things have changed. Orders are now more short-term. The lunch break is over. The daily business resumes. The plant manager takes a customer call. The customer needs prototypes. ASAP, as usual. The plant manager knows what the customer needs and promises to have them out by EOB that day. Well, let me put it this way, it's my job to take charge of these last-minute orders. As plant manager, I have to make sure that customers are dealt with quickly and that they are satisfied. The plant manager takes care of these last-minute orders and makes sure that the trainee is involved in the process. The prototype and the steps involved in making it have to be explained to the trainee. He or she also has to get some welding practice and first-hand experience of how a modern production company functions. I mean, this really is self-evident. You know, it is important that we keep to schedule, meaning quality is a must. We aren't here to deliver faulty parts. The customer does like to be pampered a bit. We're here to help, and we try to use our skills and our know-how to help the customer wherever necessary. But customers also expect us to respond quickly and flexibly.
Okay, danke.
She also did her training at Freek as an industrial clerk. She became acquainted with commodities during her training, as the sector was expanding at the time. I really enjoyed my training years. I didn't just get to do the jobs typically associated with training. Yes, I really enjoyed my training. I learned a lot, and I also believe I grew with the responsibility. A trainee in the EDP department prepares for the information technology final exam. He has programmed a tool that gives detailed defect rates for each item. When I compare this to what my peers are doing, I have a much better idea of how the company is run and what's new. I'm even allowed to be present during strategy discussions, for example. I find them really interesting. I can even suggest any ideas I have for improvements. A colleague helps him prepare for the forthcoming exam. He also completed his training as IT management assistant with Freek. That was a few years ago. He is now responsible for the internet site and keeps the catalog up to date. Of course, you have to keep on the ball and read up on new technologies and developments so as not to be left behind. Everything is done with computers and internet nowadays. Freek reacted quickly to this new development by training IT specialists. Today, most of the customers now order via internet. 2 p.m. Administration meeting. Project assessment. At Freek, the last few months were used to do those things for which there was not normally enough time. At that time, our project work helped us keep faith that we would be able to keep going, and we were able to develop a lot of new designs or improve existing ones. We designed a new brochure. The old one really needed a facelift. We got a relatively small group together and redesigned it. We rewrote the texts and took some new photos, put it together, integrated, redesigned and printed it. We ended up with a really nice brochure. I often have the opportunity to be part of a new project, a new challenge. Things are never monotonous. There's always new challenge. It could be some new software for electronic money transfers. Then someone comes down from systems administration to help. Employees took on this job at a time when the EDP network at Freek was becoming increasingly complicated. Yes, I actually studied mechanical engineering and had nothing to do with EDP. I would never have thought that I could end up on this track. Well, EDP of all things. It just happened. I sort of grew into it. Employees here grow with their tasks and take on more responsibility. Could this be because they are actively involved in the Freek process? At the beginning of the year, there is a strategy discussion which all members of the administration and the relevant members of production are invited to attend. There are easily 20 of us. We sit down on a Friday afternoon and work out the strategy for the coming year. Everyone put forward his or her ideas for company strategy and also took on new tasks and more responsibility. Why do Freek employees do this? Because we can set our own priorities and because we are not other-directed. Because here I have the opportunity to develop. I can specify my own projects. I can suggest projects myself, implement them, simply put forward my ideas. A company is always as good as the team. We are allowed to be self-reliant, are seen as competent partners. It works. Everyone knows what he or she has to do. Everyone knows what he or she is responsible for. Everyone takes the responsibility for his or her actions, for the tasks that need to be completed. A company where the bosses are superfluous? Not at all. And then employees are at the door.
Mit uns nochmal auf den Termin angesprochen. Spätestens am Montag übernächster Woche die Abrechnung machen wollen.
Ja, und ich meine, die Sicherheit haben wir eigentlich, das ist kein Problem, wir können das tun.
Die restlichen Fragen ausfragen können.
Okay. Gut, ich trage mir das ein, machen wir morgen früh.
Alles klar.
Alles klar.
Es ist natürlich so, dass nicht alles von allein funktioniert. Und
of course, not everything runs on its own. It's simply part of the managing director's job to create structures in which employees can take on part of the management load. And years ago, that's exactly how my brother and I, as managing directors of the company Freek, thought we wanted things to be. We were convinced it would be the right course to take. And our employees make good use of their freedom. They are glad to have the autonomy to work independently and grow with their tasks. In fact, a lot of them work as though they were running their own small business within Freek.
Und entwickeln sich natürlich weiter, sodass viele von ihnen inzwischen längst wie eigene Unternehmer im Unternehmen Freek arbeiten.
She began in accounts at Freek 30 years ago. Her figures reflect developments. A great deal has changed. Sales revenues in the first years were much lower than they are now. They have increased steadily over the years. Freek is extending its building. A new story was added last year. More space for production and offices. A new production building for new business sectors with new employees. A sign of growth. Our entire development over the course of the last years has been a growth process. The company has grown, the team has grown in size as well as grown together. 4 p.m. End of the production day. Employees on the way home. For them, the working day at Freek is over. On the executive floor, work is still in progress. Management is preparing the next growth cycle. This also involves working on a research project. In a few days' time, they will present the results at a scientific congress. The subject: the successful adaptability of a small and medium-sized company. It's the story of the Friedrich Freek company. A story that began at the beginning of the 1990s when the mainstream meant that you could only be successful on the global market by expanding as rapidly as possible. At the time, and under the circumstances, it looked as if the small firm of Freek would be on the losing side. But we found another way to expand, through cooperation, meaning our answer to the mergers and acquisitions strategies of the major players is cooperation. That is why even today the credo that determines all we do is still cooperation beats competition. And we cooperate at all levels and in all areas.
Auch bis heute unsere alles bestimmende Handlungsmaxime, Cooperation beats competition. Und wir kooperieren heute auf allen Ebenen und in allen Bereichen.
Und das Ganze führt zu
This means that our products are competitively priced, of very high quality and technologically sophisticated. The fact that our development has taken this route is also due partly to our scientific partners.
zu verdanken, dass wir in diese Richtung gegangen sind.
Freek has been involved in research projects since the mid-1990s. How do the scientific partners view the company's success?
Gut, das ist in der Tat eine spannende Frage. Woran liegt das?
Well, it's an interesting question. What are the reasons behind it? First of all, I think it's due, for example, to the specific intrinsic ability of management to be open, as well as the ability to simply generate new ideas, to be prepared to look around and find out what can be learned. 2 weeks later, Stefan Kaiser tells a captivated audience about the adaptability of his company. But you know that story already.
Der Turnaround, den wir mit Project schafften, war natürlich zunächst einmal das Ergebnis